Hi, I'm Alondra Contreras. I'm a race and ethnic studies major. I go to Whitman College, and this vlog, I'm going to talk about the presidential debate that happened 2 days ago on September 26th. I'm more specifically going to focus on the race segment. I believe it was called Race in America. And the moderator asked a question, basically how we can, asking both candidates, like how we can mend the racial divide, especially what happened in Tulsa and Charlotte. So then Hillary Clinton kind of like goes and like talks about how like there's like racial disparities and like neighborhoods are segregated and like there's not the same like education access to everybody. So just like basic diplomatic way of answering that question. So she kind of gets like a neutral like freebie pass, I guess, for that question. And then Donald Trump's turn to answer the question, and then he first starts talking about how like we need to get rid of like these guns from like these bad people, and like how like these bad people are the reason why like there's so many like murders and like killings, and like how instead of like what should be done, in my opinion, is like retraining of like police, and like because police have a lot of implicit bias. I mean, everybody has implicit bias, but like these people are supposed to be protecting us. So like if anybody should have the least amount of implicit bias, it should be the police department. But again, Donald Trump is saying like, no, that's not what he thinks. He thinks that we should, or that he wants to limit gun control and like take away these guns from like illegal immigrants and gangs. So at this point, like even though this is a race-related question, Donald Trump still does not talk about race at all. Like he uses like words like bad people, inner cities, gangs, illegal immigrants. I mean, so those words did not say black or brown in front of it. It had nothing to do with race, but yet these words are like so full of like racial baggage that it's almost impossible to dissociate the two. Like I can't think of illegal immigrant without thinking of Mexican. I can't think of gangs without thinking of brown and black bodies. It's like majority men, male, black and brown bodies. When I think of inner cities, I think of poor, like people of color. When I think of I forgot the other one, but like you know what I mean. Like they're not like neutral words, and like Donald Trump like knows that, and like the way he's using it is like kind of like implicitly criminalizing these people. Like it's their fault that they're getting killed because they have the gun. So it's like again taking away blame from the police and putting it onto these people. It's like this whole like personal responsibility kind of thing that we've mentioned in class. And also, like, Lawrence Mead and, like, paternalism talks about personal responsibility and how, like, again, he actually mentions it like it's the white person's personal responsibility to take care of these people, but personal responsibility is also talked about, like, welfare reform, like, especially after 1996, how it was now, like, instead of, like, the welfare reform was, like, instead of, like, blaming the system, it's now going to blame people. That way people are less dependent on like welfare, but that is not I'm not debating about whether welfare is better if it's like personal responsibility or not. I am debating whether Donald Trump like thinks that people of color are deserving or undeserving of like lives, of like being alive. So like this book, Deservingness and Entitled, is Social Construct and Public Policy by and Schnieder and Helen Ingram, and L. Schneider, and Helen Ingram, and they talk about in this one part how like people who are deserving, almost always there are real distinctions, as in differences in skin color, and like what I got out of that was like they were trying to say, white people are the ones that are deserving and entitled, and brown and black bodies are not. Because those that are deserving and entitled are a lot shades lighter. And it's not a coincidence, and it's not something that is ignored, but yet when talking about like these different groups and like especially political spaces, it's very inherent that it's like once that instead of talking about like the brown and black bodies, you're talking about inner cities, gangs, illegal immigrants. Like that's like kind of like the political jargon that is used and like the way to kind of like avoid being like seen as like racist, since like being racist in this country is like equal to bad. Speaking of bad, Donald Trump also says like these bad people, and like these bad people, like he doesn't say like the race, but he's kind of saying like bad equals black and brown and good equals white. So again, it's like instead of trying to answer the question and how to heal the divide, he's like making a more of a binary between the two. Like he's saying like us versus them instead of like kind of like trying to prevent that us versus them like dynamic. He's like enforcing it, and which is like kind of concerning because if he becomes president, like basically from what I got from his response, he doesn't care to like heal the divide. He just wants to protect himself, his like white body against like these criminalized like illegal immigrants and like gang members. But yeah, again, talking about how Donald Trump was also asked like when like why did it take so long, or something about like why did he ask like President Obama for his birth certificate? And like that's the question I had when I first went out about it. Even though this was years ago, I have no idea why this like again came up in like the debate. Like it's not, to me it's like just drop it. Like it's like it was done. Like President Obama showed him his birth certificate. Like it was just I'm very upset the fact that that was like a question again asked during the debate. But I was upset because it's like going back to the article of social citizenship or citizenship, and like how you can have political citizenship, but you can't, like that necessarily does not mean you have social citizenship. And like Donald Trump, by asking President Obama for his birth certificate, shows that even though President Obama is the president of the United States, he doesn't have, in Donald Trump's eyes, he doesn't have the social citizenship to be president. And like the only difference between, not only, there's many differences, but the obvious difference between both Donald Trump and Obama and Donald Trump is skin color. So the fact that Donald Trump felt entitled to ask for President Obama's birth certificate shows that President Obama is receiving, like what Schneider and Ingram say, these messages from like other people and other like stimuli, I guess, that he's not supposed to be in that type of position. Like he is constantly being faced with these obstacles because he's receiving these messages. And like President Obama, being the cool person he is, instead of like being upset about this, he recognizes it and shows it to Donald Trump, as in like this, I do have social citizenship, FYI, and I am president, and you may not be president, kind of thing. That's how I took it. But yeah, Donald Trump also says this other problematic part by like trying to take care of like inner cities, and like we need to protect inner cities. Again, like very paternalistic, like that bled Lawrence Mead, Lawrence Mead, and like his like telling the poor what to do article, and like how there has to be some sort of supervision of the poor because, you know, the poor are not competent enough to like get out of poverty, because if they were, they would have done so already. But like by that like reasoning, you don't realize how like poverty is a systemic issue, not really a personal issue. But yeah, that's what I got out of the video, or not the video, I'm sorry, the debate. Yeah, so basically Donald Trump did not answer the question. I'm not going to say Hillary answered the question any better, but at least she didn't call, you know, bad people and good people and guns and, you know, that mess. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and see you later.